All right, we are recording right now. And cool. All right, well, I'm here with Dave Katz of Ekoostik Hookah, and we're gonna find out we're gonna get some cool stories and see what he's all about. All right. So Dave,
Yes.
where do you draw your greatest inspiration from?
Musically?
Yes, musically.
So I grew up, I was born in the late 60s, so a lot of what I was listening to was 70s stuff. So a lot of singer-songwriter stuff from the 70s for me. The ones that come to mind that I really, really still to this day love and listen to all the time are like Seals and Crofts, Joni Mitchell, James Taylor, Elton John, things like that. So I moved along. My absolute favorite pet band growing up was Journey, especially the earliest, and then the first incarnation was Steve Perry. So I get a lot from that. Greg Rowley's probably my favorite organist, who, I don't know, a lot of people don't know this, but he was in Santana. So so Santana's another one, but like two of the guys, Greg Rowley and Neil Sean, were in Santana, like at Woodstock and that type of thing. So a lot of that, and I like big horn bands, like old horn bands, like Blood, Sweat and Tears, Old Chicago, stuff like that. So those are my main. Probably I'd go there.
Cool.
Yeah.
So I was just talking with Tan, and I thought this question evoked. It was cool. It was cool to hear their answer. I'm really interested to hear what you say. But okay, so as a fan, watching musicians on stage, you can see when there's an outpouring of expression by I would call them like a micro expression. So it'd be like like stank face or something, or just like a smile, something like that. Are there any are you aware of when that outpouring comes out of yourself, necessarily, or does it just happen?
It just happens.
Yeah.
And then when I see a film, I see a recording, I'm like, oh my god, man. Well, I look like that all the time because I make those faces apparently all the time.
Yeah.
So, it's just part of the feeling of playing. Like anything else you get into, it just comes out that way.
Yeah.
And I sometimes wish, reflecting on it, that I could control it more and not do it. But no, it's just part of the way I am, I guess. And
yeah.
I would guess that's true with most musicians. I mean, I'm sure there are some musicians that
stone cold,
or they get it, they like a rocker might get that face and purposely do it, or so, as part of the show.
Yeah.
But none of what I do or we do is part of the show when it comes to that. It's just you are who you are. You play the way you play.
Right. So do you guys walk out with the set list, or do you guys kind of how do you kind of control where your jams do?
We use a set list maybe 1 out of 100 shows. Like last night with Ed, we had a set list because, and we had to know which songs of Ed's we were going to do. A couple of the guys in the band never played with Ed in the band.
Gotcha.
They played with him before when we've had him up. But, so we have to set that, and then Ed has to know what songs to go over to play with, of ours, because he hasn't played them in however long.
Right. Yeah.
So there are certain times when we do a really short set. If we get like a 45-minute set at some festival or something like that, or whatever it happens to be, something like that, you kind of have to get an idea of what you're doing. Otherwise, you might not do much of anything, or you might just go into a song and it's like, oh, well, there goes half the set, So there are times when we use them, but as far as complete set lists, very, very rare. There are times where we'll know a couple of songs we're going to do, or thinking, we might do some kind of sandwich where we'll involve these songs at some point tonight, something like that. We might talk about something here and there, but that's about it.
So who would you say that your favorite artist is to cover, or your favorite cover song? If you had to pick one.
Well, what I like to do is I like to do cover tunes that most people don't know, and that way they think there are tunes. We have a couple. We did one last night, Sister Sugar, which a lot of people are like, oh, that's just a Dave song, and it's a Billy Preston song. Gotcha. And very few people know that, but that's cool because it's a song that I knew as a little kid. I had the album, like the actual album, not the disc, not that I had the album. I had vinyl, and another one I do is Seagull, a Bad Company, which most people haven't heard that song unless you had the vinyl. You they never played on the radio.
Right.
You know, it's not a bad company sounding song.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I like doing those the best. But as far as like covers that we've done, you know, at Hookahville, we always do covers as encores, and a lot of them we'll do once and we'll never play again.
Okay.
Because we have to bring in horns or backup singers or whatever we do. My favorite one I ever did there was when I covered Journey and did Feeling That Way Anytime, which was phenomenal. That was really cool.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So when you're at the end of a long day, you sit down. What is your go-to activity? What is what
End of the day?
Yeah.
I watch sports.
Sports? All right. That's what I'm talking about.
That's what I do.
Cool.
Cleveland sports.
Cleveland sports.
If there is Cleveland sports on,
Right.
that's what I do.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
I always, typically I tape whatever it is because I'm doing other things. And I mean, by the time I settle down, it's usually, you know, midnight or something.
Right.
You know, so everything's taped. I don't watch commercials, you know,
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
I do everything I can to avoid anybody telling me scores because that pisses me off.
Right. You want to find out yourself. I get
It
it.
happens at gigs sometimes. And people are like, hey, you know, the Cavs just won. It's like, no,
I didn't
no.
need
There goes
that.
my night.
Yeah.
That was my whole plan when I got done playing, you know, so.
So, what kind of when you're just looking to play an instrument for fun, right? So let's just say you're looking to play something like apart from maybe, I don't know, what you have on stage or anything like that. Is there like an instrument maybe that you go for that maybe isn't something you like are 100% down with, like just a different instrument or, you know, a different kind of like model or style of your own instrument, of a, you know, like guitar or, you know, that you gravitate towards when you're just trying to do something different?
I mean, there's lots of things I fool around with. You know, my son, he has a bass. Sometimes I go in and just play his bass.
Mm-hmm.
Down in my basement, my practice room or whatever, I have an electric drum kit, a little drum kit. So sometimes I'll sit down and just try to get a groove. I'm not a real good drummer, but I can hold a little bit of a groove, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
I have right here. I have my little steel drum thing.
Yeah,
I just learned how to play. What's it called? Africa.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah. That's awesome.
It's so weird because of how this is set up. I'm not used to like
like
where to go yet. It's not like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's like, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Right.
You know, it's
it
like,
takes us to orient yourself. Yeah,
it's very weird. But I'll get it eventually.
Right. That's cool.
Yeah.
So, you know, film is a big part of, obviously, our culture, not necessarily the music scene, but they do overlap, I'd say, somewhat in maybe higher echelons. But I think that a lot of people would wonder what your taste is when it comes to, like, is there a movie that comes to mind that has been impactful in your life? And is there a movie that you could recommend that, like, you know, somebody watch if it would be worth their time?
I mean, there's so many great movies.
For sure.
Depending on your mood.
Yes.
Like what you want to feel. You know, do you want like heavy duty, serious movies?
Yeah.
Like when I think about those off the top of my head, it's like The Color Purple.
Right.
Like heavy duty.
Yeah.
Or Schindler's List.
Yeah. Yes.
You know, like major.
Yeah.
Like you want to like really like you get up and you're like, I can't even talk after that kind of movie.
Yeah.
And then there's like, you know, Airplane. Which
Right.
I've seen 50 times, and I still find things that I've never heard
Roger,
before.
Roger.
Yeah, the whole thing. You know, it's just a hysterical movie. You know, it's hard. I mean, impactful on my life would be tough. I don't know if a movie's ever really like changed anything in my world necessarily.
Okay.
But I mean, maybe if I really thought about it, but we probably don't have that much time.
Yeah.
Because the brain ain't what it used to be.
Absolutely.
But you know, there's a lot of great movies, and it's more a genre thing. But I'll tell you, sometimes late at night when there's no Cleveland sports to watch, I'll watch like, you know, crap movies, like just B movies that are stupid and have just to like, because it's action packed. It's like you know, or whatever, you know, and I can kind of get into anything.
Yeah.
Sort of like stupid things about like the end of the world with like 350-foot tidal waves coming and, you know, stuff like that. It's like, oh, I can watch that. That's kind of cool.
Right.
Even
Sharknado.
Even if the graphics are terrible and all that. But
like plastic.
I think one thing that's really important, though, is that there's certain movies that you got to watch in the theater.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Or you just don't get, like, I went to see, like, the last Mission Impossible.
Mm-hmm.
I like those movies. This last one I thought was great, you know? And it's like, you're not going to get it on your TV. Even if you have, like, you know, the 80-inch... you know, home theater thing. You need, you know. And I saw Oppenheimer, which was amazing.
Yeah, cool.
Amazing. That didn't need to be in the theater though.
Yeah,
that you could see at home.
Yeah, it was that good. Yeah.
You know, so it's like, that kind of thing.
Cool. So let's see. But I mean, being a long, obviously, I mean, you've been with Hookah since day one. You were founding,
one.
yeah, one of the founding, yeah. So I mean, they are. When I think of Hookah personally, I mean, it is a pillar in the community that has, you know, I mean, it's just been something that in the jam band community, you know, you guys have kind of like you've stayed in this space, and I think that your fan base really, really, really reflects that. And you know, it's just something you don't always see when you're, you know, going and you're looking through different bands, you're going to different shows. It's just, I mean, the community is incredibly tight knit. Can you speak on necessarily kind of what it's like to, or what it feels like to be maybe part of something that just has longevity or tenure to it, that you know has yeah, just, you know, as tenure. Like, what does it feel like to be in hookah? What does it feel like to be,
it feels pretty special. I mean, we're definitely, I mean, lucky not in the sense of it was lucky that it happened, but, lucky. I mean, I'm using that, I guess, in the place of blessed, because that's not a word I really go to, but in that sense, like, it's, millions and millions of people play in bands, and very few are lucky enough to be able to get to even where we got, which is nowhere close to where a lot of other bands have gotten. And but like you're talking about, like tight knit community and stuff like that is really special. It's like I can go out here today, and there's I probably know 1,000 people here, and they're not all my best friends, but I can have a conversation with them, and I know a little something about them because I've just seen them at a lot of shows. You could look at it as a good and bad thing. It's a product of us. We did for 15 years or so. We did all the traveling, playing all over the place, and really spreading out. When you do that, you go and you see a couple people at shows, but you don't know everybody.
Right.
And so when you tighten up where you play, and you start to know more of the people. But some people would say that's not a great thing because you should be playing everywhere.
Right.
But we did that, and it was fun and interesting. And then it was like things happened, and we ended up doing what we did.
Right.
And I don't want to say I wouldn't ever do anything different, because I think in every aspect of my life I'd probably do something different.
Right.
There's always room for improvement, but it's a good feeling, and I think that we played a really big role in opening up the scene for especially bands in this area, and certainly with Hookahville for festivals everywhere. I think really, I mean, not just in this area. What happened after Hookahville started and got established is unreal.
Yeah.
And I don't think a lot of people really talk about the fact that Hookahville was kind of a real stepping stone for that whole scene.
Yeah.
But it was, like it or not.
Yeah.
It was.
Yes, it was. I mean,
yeah,
no
question. So it's cool. Being a part of Hookah is pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, I'm more than excited to be sitting down with you.
Well, thank you.
So, well, I think that's about. I think we got some good stuff there.
All right, then.
And
Thank
Dave,
you.
I really appreciate your time.
Yeah, absolutely.